Welcome back to the Portal Report Head Coach Showcase Series. I'm your host, George Michalowski, Director of Recruiting here at the Portal Report. And today, I welcome on another very special guest. Today, I'm joined by Northwestern State Head Coach Corey Gipson. Corey, thank you so much for joining the show. It's great to finally have you on.
Hey, thank you, man. You're the most important person right now because we connected. So really appreciate you having me on your show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's do it. So, Corey, I heard you on an interview with my guy Tristan at the Field of 68 earlier this summer. You were talking about how, this isn't a rebuild. What you're going through, a rebuild is when you have new lumber, you said. The pieces of the frame are familiar to you already. That's what you were saying. So as you've started to practice with your new team, but with those guys that you're already familiar with, how has this summer gone so far?
We've really been able to expedite the process because they've come into the program as leaders. So when it comes to intensity, pace, energy, effort, enthusiasm, terminology, they're able to bring the other guys along. So the other guys are able to say, okay, all right, that's what that means. And they get a chance to see guys do it in real time. So it's really been a blessing having the established players that I'm very familiar with. And it's also been a blessing having the new incomers because they've been able to latch on and catch on to everything that we're doing.
So are the new guys that came with you, Jamonte Black, DeMarcus Sharp, Isaac Haney, are those guys, starting to take leadership roles in your program? Do you see, leadership spots starting to fill as you've, began your first few months here?
Those young men have been leaders for a long time because, number one, they're leaders of themselves. Okay. And when you can lead yourself, then other people can follow. They've been leaders. They were leaders when they were in high school. Those guys, they do the right things. Their service in the community. They're great family-oriented young men. So, those guys have been leaders for a long time. They're just taking what they've already been instilled in them from their own families and have brought that to the collegiate level.
Right. So Jamonte is one of those guys, you brought over with you. He really developed into a key contributor at Missouri State, around 9 points per game the last 2 years, 38% career 3-point shooter. So what do you expect out of Jamonte this season? And really, what was it like when you found out he was coming when you found out he was committing to you guys out of the portal?
Well, Jamonte has been one of those guys that have served throughout his basketball career. You tell, like, when he was in high school, he played with Isaiah Mosley, who was a prolific player at Missouri State, and he played with DeJuan Harris, who was the starting point guard at Kansas. Believe it or not, all three of those guys signed with us at Missouri State out of high school, okay? And then, but Jamonte, he had a role in high school to where the ball was pretty much dominated by DeJuan and Isaiah. Okay, and then he comes to Missouri State, and then the ball was pretty much dominated by some other people also. But he's one of those guys that whatever you ask him to do, he will do it and not complain one bit. But here at NSU, he's going to have more of a scoring role and more of a ball-in-hand role. So it'll be a little different for him, but he has welcomed that since he's been here in the program.
Another guy you guys, bring in, Jordan Wilmore, is 7'3", just a massive guy. He brings over, 2 years of experience from the high major level, playing at Mizzou in the SEC. So I want to ask, how did you see from coaching him now? How did he mature over those 2 years in the SEC? What's his mindset like now heading into this new environment?
I'll tell you about Big Jordan. I think he's the second tallest player in basketball, if I'm not mistaken. You probably have to research that. Jordan has the potential to be a very, very good basketball player. He has a good high IQ. I think he can be one of the best offensive rebounders in college basketball. And I think that he can lead college basketball in dunks made. It's going to be about using every guy to their strengths. And then you rewind back to Jamonte. I think Jamonte can lead college basketball in made three-pointers, okay? Everybody that we have in our program, what they do well, they will be held to that standard. Whatever their strength is, they will be held to that standard. So we plan to bring all the strengths that our guys have, and we plan to put a microscope on that, and each and every day we continue to coach and praise them for that. And we're not going to worry about what guys can't do.
Right. And I want to shift more about the actual transfer portal, where you're getting these guys from. So when they enter the portal, when you see these names pop up and you're familiar with some of them, you're not familiar with some, but you get to know them, you start recruiting them like a high school kid. So for a coach heading into his first season as the head coach of the new program at Northwestern State, how important of a tool is the portal itself for you?
It's a way, the way that the portal works now is that it can be dangerous to you also, because you look at a player's stats. Sometimes a player can be the best player on a bad team. And too often we're seeing the best players on a bad team go to a level they probably really shouldn't be at. And we've tried to make sure that we didn't make that mistake. We're trying to really focus on guys that we feel like they can be a great fit for our program, not because they led their team in scoring where they came from, but because they were great teammates, number one, and then they have a skill set and the mindset that we feel like we can use in our program. You take like all of our guys. We scrutinize everybody that we handpicked, because what we didn't want to do is that we didn't want to take the wrong guy and the wrong guy beat us every day. What we did, it's okay. Let's say the right guy goes in conference play and we play him twice a year and he's that good and helps that team beat us twice a year. Well, we still got 28, 29 of the 30 games. But we just made sure that we didn't take the wrong guys who can beat us every day behind closed doors. Right.
It's important. So, you've been recruiting, you've been working with your staff. You made it clear that, this staff is the greatest example of loyalty and brotherhood. That's how you describe them. So, you guys obviously have a lot of work heading into this new opportunity, but when it comes to, recruiting certain areas or certain levels, junior college or strictly player development and other duties that you guys are responsible for, where do you feel this staff that you've assembled is strongest?
Just standing in the gap. Okay. I'm not one of these guys that when I get in a head seat or something to get in charge, that I think it's about me. If I expire today, if today is my last day on earth, I'm very confident that this staff can keep it rolling. Okay. And the great example is this. These guys are leaders of their own home. They have kids. I have older coaches on my staff. Their kids are already grown. If you have a family, if you've raised kids and you've been the leader of your household, it's easy to take charge and lead a team, right? It's just like, some people tell you before you have a child, man, it's going to be hard when you have a child for the first time. It's not hard if somebody raised you right. If somebody raised you right, you already know how to raise a kid. And if somebody raised you wrong, you still know what to do because you know what not to do. And that's why every coach on this staff, if I expire today, I'm very confident that each and every one of them can take this team and lead it in a direction that it needs to go in.
It's important. It's important starting that new program off with a strong culture. And it seems like, you really have something good going here. So I want to close this out by giving you the floor. What would your one message be to fans of Northwestern State, to those around the country that are looking to you in your first year at the helm? What would your message be to all the fans?
Well, one thing that we preach in the program every day is love. Okay. Every time we leave practice, it's love. We don't leave and say champs. We don't leave and say get better. We say love. Because number one, we got to love ourselves in order to be able to love other people. And our number one agenda in the program from day one has been serving the community and serving each other. We've done more community service than we can count on both hands in the month of June, and we're not even out of July yet. Okay? And so our guys have learned how to serve, and some of them already knew how to serve. But if we can serve other people, okay, and show kids that they have examples in the community that they can live up to and look up to, that's what it's all about. But what we're not going to be is striving for a championship and win a championship and think that we've done something but haven't served the community. And too often that we've been guilty of that. But I want to make sure that we're not guilty of that. But you best believe that you're going to see a lot of love and a lot of serving when it comes to the NSU basketball team.
Sounds good, Coach. And once again, thank you so much for joining the show today. I'm your host, George Michalowski. Thanks for tuning in to the Portal Report once again. Thank you, guys.
Hey, you're the man. You're the best, brother. Appreciate you. Hey, give me some forks before you get up out of here.
Forks up, man.